Hi everyone. For my presentation, I am going to be talking about ABA in the classroom and providing you guys with essential strategies to help enhance the learning environment for all of your students. First, let's get into an introduction into ABA in the classroom. What every special education teacher should know. ABA is a scientific approach that focuses on understanding and improving behavior in educational settings. It equips special education teachers with effective strategies to support diverse learners and enhance their educational experiences. What is and what isn't ABA? ABA is not limited to discrete trial training or exclusive to students with autism. It encompasses a wide range of techniques applicable to various behaviors and learning needs. Understanding ABA can help educators utilize its principles effectively in its classrooms. Some common misconceptions about ABA is that it solely relies on punishment and is only for children with autism. Whereas in reality, ABA emphasizes positive reinforcement and can be beneficial for all students by promoting desired behaviors and reducing challenging ones. Now let's go ahead and get into understanding functions of behavior and reinforcement. Function of behavior, the why behind behaviors. Every behavior serves a purpose, and understanding the functions of behavior can help teachers address the root causes. Very early on in my RBT career, I learned this acronym, Everyone Eats, and basically, this is going to help you memorize the four main functions of behavior: escape, E, attention, A, tangible, T, and sensory, S. Each provide an insight as to why a student may act out, and recognizing these functions can allow for teachers to tailor their interventions more effectively to meet their students' needs. So now let's get into the different functions of behavior, starting with escape. The definition of escape is when the student wants to get away from something, like a demand, a task, or an environment. An example of this could be during a math activity, a student throws their pencil and begins yelling. When this happens, the teacher sends the student to the hallway to calm down. Our second one, attention. This is when a student wants attention from adults or peers, whether that attention is positive or negative attention. For example, a student makes silly noises during independent work time, and the teacher repeatedly tells them to stop, giving them attention each time. So, despite this attention being negative, the student is still wanting that attention because it is their function of their behavior. Now, going into tangibles. For this is when a student wants something, an item, an activity, food, a toy, when they just want something tangible. An example of this is a student screams when they are told it's time to put away their iPad. They get to keep it for 5 minutes to help them calm down. As you can see here, this kiddo is upset about his iPad, and so he is acting out, which is then reinforced when the iPad is given back to him. Next, we're going into sensory. This is when a behavior feels good or regulates the student in some way, and it has no external reward, only intrinsic. For example, a student flaps their hands and hums during quiet time. It seems unrelated to people or activities around them. So as we can see here by some of these picture examples, I actually have a lot of kiddos who exhibit hand flapping and olfactory or taste sensory function, and it's pretty interesting to see. So yeah. All right, now we are going to identify the functions of behavior. Let's go ahead and practice this. The objective of this is we are just going to be identifying the function of behaviors based on some common classroom scenarios that you guys may encounter. So instructions for this, listen to each scenario and then decide which function of behavior is most likely. Let's go ahead and get started. I'll give everyone about 5 seconds. I'll just do a countdown since I'm pre-recording this. During free play, a student screams when another child picks up the toy they were playing with. An adult quickly intervenes and gives the toy back to the student to stop the screaming. What could be the potential function of this behavior? Ready? Access to tangibles. Little kiddo is upset because another kid picked up his toys and he wants it back, so he starts exhibiting that screaming or tantrum behavior, and it is then once again reinforced by the adult giving it back to the kiddo, letting them basically learn that if they scream, they can eventually gain access to something that they just lost access from. And this is going to be important when we talk about strategies later on. Next scenario. A student frequently taps their pencil on the desk and hums during silent reading time, even though no one is around or responding to the behavior. What could be the potential function? And the potential function for this is sensory. This kiddo is not around anybody else. No one is responding to the behavior, giving him attention. So we can assume that this behavior is sensory related and that he may just enjoy the feeling of tapping his pencil. He may like humming to himself, that kind of vibration. So this is sensory. Next scenario. During math centers, a student begins to loudly complain and push their worksheet away every time the teacher places a math problem in front of them. When this happens, the teacher allows them to take a break. What could be the potential function of this behavior? And the potential function for this behavior is escape. The kiddo's getting upset and he is pushing his worksheets away because unfortunately he has learned in the past that by pushing his materials away, he can escape a task. And this behavior might be then generalized across different settings, across different people. Let's say mom and dad say, put on your shoes. He might throw his shoes, he might throw his book bag, basically something to escape the task at hand. All right, our last scenario here. While working independently, a student continuously calls out the teacher's name. When the teacher finally responds, they tell the student to wait, but the student smiles and continues calling out their name. What's the potential function of this behavior? The potential function of this behavior is attention. So even though, as we mentioned in our previous example on our attention slide, even though this attention that the student is getting is negative because the teacher is somewhat reprimanding them, telling them they have to wait, please wait, I'm working right now, the student is still wanting that attention from that teacher. And it's still being given to them, still being reinforced because the teacher is still responding and giving that attention that they'd like. Also, another little side note here. When the student is making direct eye contact with you or looking at you when they are doing these behaviors that they know are not appropriate and they're still looking at you, typically they are looking for that attention. I won't say that this is within all kiddos, but I will say a lot of my kiddos that I have worked with will typically push something off of the counter, look over at me. They will look at me directly in my eye while trying to scratch my arm, just things like that. Things they're trying to get my attention, whether it's positive or negative, and that's the function of their behavior. Now let's talk about reinforcement. Reinforcement is going to be your best friend in the classroom. It's a powerful tool for encouraging positive behavior and creating a supportive learning environment. By effectively using reinforcement, teachers can motivate their students and enhance their learning experiences. Types of reinforcement: positive and negative. Positive reinforcement adds a desired stimulus to increase a behavior, while a negative reinforcer removes an undesired stimulus to achieve the same goal, increasing a behavior. Both types can be effective when used appropriately in the classroom. Some easy reinforcement ideas for immediate use. Teachers can implement simple reinforcement strategies such as using stickers, verbal praise, or allowing breaks to encourage positive behavior. These ideas are easy to integrate into your daily routines and can have a significant impact on student engagement. And I also added over here an example photo of some positive reinforcers and negative reinforcers that you could use within your classroom. Something else that I typically use when I am doing natural environment teaching and just kind of letting the child lead our sessions is I will look at something that they are engaged with that appears to be reinforcing to them. For example, if I'm noticing that my client is playing with blocks, I might attempt to remove the blocks and hold them, show them to him, but remove access from them, and ask him a question, and then provide the blocks to him as a way of positive reinforcement to increase his behaviors of responding to me over time. Next, we are going to go ahead and get into preventing and managing problem behaviors. Preventing problem behaviors, strategies for success. Preventing problem behavior starts with understanding the triggers and implementing proactive strategies. By creating a supportive environment, teachers can significantly reduce instances of disruptive behavior in the classroom. Let's get into some antecedent strategies. So, an antecedent is what happens before a behavior. Here we are going to be setting the stage for success. With antecedent strategies, it involves modifying the environment or routine to prevent problem behaviors before they occur. Techniques such as visual schedules, clear expectations, can help students understand what is expected of them and reduce any anxiety or confusion. Some antecedent strategies for escape function maintained behavior. Offer choices within the task. Do you want to use a pencil or a marker for your work? Break tasks into smaller chunks, potentially even doing non-preferred activities spaced out throughout the day rather than one big chunk of non-preferred activity. Using visual schedules to show when breaks or preferred activities are coming. Providing a break card that the students can use to request a break appropriately. Or use behavior momentum, where you start with asking 2 to 3 easy tasks before presenting a hard one. An example of this could be clap your hands, touch your head. When's your birthday? Now let's talk about antecedent strategies for attention maintained behavior. Give frequent planned attention throughout the day, or behavioral sprinkling. Use behavior-specific praise. I love how quietly you're working. Something important with these kiddos is to be very specific about our praise that we are giving. That way, you don't want to accidentally praise, let's say they're doing an inappropriate behavior that is covert that we can't see while also doing the appropriate behavior. So we want to reinforce good job, specific behavior, because we don't necessarily know if there could be another behavior that they are currently doing that we just aren't seeing. We can set up peer interaction opportunities for appropriate attention, teach alternative ways to request attention, such as raising their hand, using a help card, or catch them being good before the behavior starts. This is really excellent. If you happen to see a behavior starting, go ahead and catch them beforehand. I love how you're sitting and being so patient. I know we've been waiting for a really long time, but I'm very proud of you. You're doing a great job waiting. Access to tangible antecedent strategies. Using a visual timer or a countdown for transitions, setting clear expectations about when items are available, such as using a first then board, using a token economy so students can earn access to their items and they are able to see how many questions or tasks are to be completed before they receive their reinforcement. Give frequent reminders before removing an item. I typically do this with all of my kiddos. This just kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with attention, just giving reminders so there isn't any confusion or unnecessary frustration. And teach appropriate requesting skills through functional communication training. You can use a PECS, an AAC device, or just naturally modeling the appropriate language. Sensory antecedent strategies. You can provide access to sensory tools such as fidgets, weighted items, or having movement breaks. Scheduling sensory activities proactively throughout the day can also be very beneficial, same as when we were talking about non-preferred activities. If sensory is the function of your kiddo's behavior, it might be important to have something sensory related after a non-preferred task. Teaching replacement behaviors that serve the same sensory need. So squeezing a stress ball instead of hitting. Something I currently am doing with one of my clients is he really likes throwing things and watching them fall. So we made a designated throw zone in his room where he can throw basketballs, he can throw his Plinko board set, he can throw a whole bunch of things, and it's completely appropriate in that special area. You can also create a calm corner or a sensory station. This is similar to my throw zone. However, we're kind of looking at throwing instead of calming down. And limit downtime or have long wait periods where self-stimulatory behavior is more likely. Next, let's get into consequence strategies. Consequence strategies involve how we respond to behaviors after they occur, with the goal of decreasing problem behaviors and increasing appropriate behaviors in the future. Consistent responses, such as reinforcing desired behaviors and minimizing attention to problem behaviors, can help students learn which actions are effective in meeting their needs. Consequence strategies for escape. We want to follow through with demands when appropriate and avoid removing the demand immediately after the problem behavior. We want to prompt appropriate behavior before allowing a break. For example, show me how you can do deep breaths. Okay, we can take a break. Or show me where your break card is. They touch their break card. Okay, we can take a break because those are more appropriate behaviors. We want to focus on coping skills, functional communication training, instead of responding and reinforcing those problem behaviors. Reinforce task completion. Nice job finishing your math. Now you can take a break. And minimize attention to challenging behaviors, but ensure tasks are completed or revisited if we need to take a break from them. Attention consequence strategies. Provide attention for appropriate behaviors immediately. Thank you for raising your hand. Oh, thank you for touching your break card. Do you want to take a break? Minimize attention to problem behaviors. So basically here, when they are doing their attention-seeking behaviors, we are going to ignore it as much as we can, as long as the ignoring is safe and the behaviors aren't self-injurious. We want to avoid lecturing or giving big reaction to attention-seeking problem behaviors and reinforce alternative attention-seeking behaviors. Once again, thank you for raising your hand. Thanks for touching your break card. Do you want to take a break now? Thank you for waiting in line. Now it's your turn. You can go ahead and go. Consequence strategies for access to tangibles. Provide access to desired items only for the appropriate behaviors. Do not give the item following an inappropriate problem behavior. Prompt and reinforce appropriate requests and minimize attention or delay item delivery after a problem behavior. Again, we kind of want here for our client to exhibit more appropriate behaviors before we reinforce giving them the item that they are looking for. For example, I have a client who really likes to grab toys out of your hands that you're playing with. So what we do is, say, my turn. As soon as she says my turn, we give her the toy and we reinforce that appropriate behavior of asking for my turn. Sensory consequence strategies. We want to allow access to appropriate sensory alternatives, and we don't want to reinforce inappropriate sensory seeking behavior if that is possible. For example, if our student is licking Play-Doh, we kind of want to remove that Play-Doh. It could be toxic, it could be harmful, and we really don't want to reinforce them eating Play-Doh. However, if we redirect them to a chewy or to a gummy, something that is edible, that's way more appropriate. And we want to reinforce those behaviors and redirect them to more appropriate sensory alternatives. Reinforce use of replacement behaviors. Example here, great job using your fidget quietly. I love how you picked up your pop socket. That's a great choice. Good job waiting with your toys. I love how you're waiting so patiently with your squishy toys. All right, and now we are going to go ahead and get into collaboration and resources for success. Data collection. We want to keep data collection simple. So data collection is essential for understanding our students' behaviors and making informed decisions about them. By keeping track of those behaviors, teachers can easily analyze them without feeling overwhelmed. Next, we're going to talk about understanding ABC data, a quick overview. ABC data helps teachers identify the antecedent, what happened before the behavior, and the consequence, what happened after the behavior of a student's actions. This understanding can allow for targeted interventions that address the root causes of behavior. So if we look at this example over here, A, antecedent, Tom cooking dinner. B, behavior, Ethan jumps off the couch. C, consequence, Tom tells Ethan to stop. Let's look at another example. Let's see if we can try to determine the function of behavior from this. Tom puts Ethan to bed and walks away. Behavior, Ethan jumps off the bed. Consequence, Tom comes back in and tells Ethan to stop jumping. Next behavior here, or next antecedent, Tom is filling out paperwork. Behavior, Ethan jumps off of the bookcase. Consequence, Tom tells Ethan to stop. So based on this ABC data, we can kind of infer that the function of behavior here might be attention. Anytime Tom is busy or preoccupied doing a task, or he is attempting to have Ethan go away from him, whether it's at bedtime or a transition elsewhere. It looks like Ethan is somewhat acting out. He's jumping off the couch. He likes to jump, obviously. And it seems like he is jumping to get Tom's attention. Frequency, duration, interval, a light explanation. Frequency refers to how often a behavior occurs, while duration measures how long it lasts. Interval data helps track behaviors over specific periods of time, making it easier to understand patterns. Why is data so important? Data is crucial for making those informed decisions about student interventions and progress. Understanding the why behind data collection helps teachers feel more empowered in their roles. Collaboration, teachers and BCBAs as a team. Collaboration between teachers and BCBAs enhances the support provided to students with special needs. Working together ensures that strategies are consistent and effective across different settings. For example, I am currently working on a potty training routine with one of my kiddos, and because I only see him about 3 times a week for only about 2 to 3 hours, he's not really getting enough potty training with me. So we have had mom implement the potty training program with him as well. So not only is he doing the same work that he's doing with me during session, he is also doing that with mom. And mom and I have communicated with teachers, and now he is also doing these procedures, these potty training procedures at school as well. So throughout his day, throughout different settings and across different people, we are promoting generalization of potty training while also trying to implement that potty training and reinforce it as much as we can. And so far, we've seen really great progress, and it's really important to work together as a team. And seeing that progress of us working together as a team has just really, for me, reinforced the collaboration part of it. Roles of RBTs and BCBAs. What you need to know. RBTs implement the behavior plans under the supervision of a BCBA. Understanding these roles can help you guys effectively collaborate and utilize their experience. I've had teachers ask me before, hey, can we work on hand washing with them? Hey, can we work on matching pictures with them? Things like that. As an RBT, I can only implement the programs that my BCBA has provided me. So I am unable to implement programs that my BCBA hasn't already pre-approved and has seen the behaviors to implement the programming. Tips for smooth communication with BCBAs. Effective communication with your BCBAs or with your students' BCBAs is key to successful collaboration. Regular check-ins and clear expectations can bridge any gaps between teaching and behavioral support. Respecting roles and expertise, a collaborative approach. Respecting each other's expertise fosters a positive working relationship between teachers and BCBAs. Acknowledging the unique contributions of each role enhances the support provided to your students. And that's the end of my presentation.